Hello, dear primary 4 students. Today we will start lesson 3 learn of concept 1, devices and energy. In this lesson, we will use all the information we learned about energy and its transformations. النهارده هنعتمد على كل المعلومات اللي اتعلمناها مع بعض عن الطاقة وتحولاتها. We learned before that there should be a main source of energy for the different devices to operate, like the toy cars that we control remotely, اللي هي العربيات remote control. Their source of energy is the internal batteries. We also analyzed the source of energy that devices can use to operate even if they are in a remote place like the Mars rover Curiosity. We knew that the Curiosity rover travels on the surface of Mars and sends back pictures and data about the nature of this planet to the scientists to analyze them. Do you remember when some of you wondered about the energy source of the rover? عرفنا إن كل جهاز محتاج مصدر للطاقة عشان يشتغل. طيب يا ترى عربية الاستكشافات كيوريوسيتي كانت بتجيب الطاقة دي منين؟ Yes, we knew that the Mars rover Curiosity depend on the solar energy, which converts into kinetic, thermal, and electrical energy to operate its sensors. When it moves on the surface of Mars, اعتمدت عربة الاستكشافات على الطاقة الشمسية وحولتها لصور كتير من الطاقة عشان تقدر تشغل بيها أجهزة الاستشعارات. We also learned that the sun is a main source of energy and the main part of some of the energy chains that we talked about because it gives the plant the light to form its food and to grow. تعالوا تاني أفكركم بالenergy chain اللي احنا اتكلمنا عنها. قلنا إن في سلاسل الطاقة دايماً بنبتدي بالsun, okay? Then the plant will take the sunlight أو the light energy of the sun to form its food. After that the plant dies and get buried under the ground for many years. زي ما قلنا النباتات هتعتمد على الطاقة الشمسية عشان تكبر، بس إيه اللي بيحصل لما النباتات دي بتموت وبتدفن تحت الأرض؟ It turns into coal اللي هو الفحم which stores chemical energy. When coal is burned in the power plant اللي هي مصنع طاقة كهربائي which we can also call power station, it turns into other forms such as thermal and kinetic energy from which electrical energy is generated. Think back of the example of the hair dryer. When it works, إيه اللي حصل في الhair dryer? It produces energy in the form of heat and sound. And at the final activity of the last lesson, we began to observe and collect data by looking into the energy of devices that we use in our daily lives. And now, it's time for the analysis and conclusion. دلوقتي جه الوقت إن احنا نحلل إجاباتنا واستنتاجاتنا. Let's now continue our investigation and think carefully of the data we collected. Get your book and get a piece of paper and a pen. Just to remind you, we start our investigation by analyzing each of the devices that we had. What are their functions and what kind of energy they need to operate. We also noticed what happens when the device is working. Then, we identified the energy that the device uses to operate and the type of energy produced. This means the one that comes out of the device. After that, we recorded our observation and data in this table. I put the table on the board to check it together. بس عايزة أفكركم الأول إن إحنا المرة اللي فاتت اتكلمنا عن الأجهزة وحددنا الطاقة المستخدمة input energy والطاقة الناتجة input and output energy وجمعناهم كلهم في الجدول ده. I'll give you time to go back to your book page 14 and think of the notes that you recorded to get ready for the analysis and conclusion. I'm sure all of you ready to share their investigation, and as usual, we will return to our book to answer the questions that will help us organize and analyze our thinking. Open your book on page 16. The first question is, how did you determine the forms of energy that went into the use of each device? In other words, what way have you used to know the type of energy that the device needs or used to operate? يعني يا ترى ايه هي الطريقة اللي انت استخدمتها عشان تعرف نوع الطاقة اللي الجهاز بيحتاجها عشان يشتغل. To answer this question, we need to analyze the steps we took, the notes we wrote, and how they relate to how we checked the device and tested how it works. Do you think our analysis and conclusions were correct? Let's go back to the table and let me write for you the answer for the bell. المرة اللي فاتت أنا قلت لكم إيه هي الطاقة المستخدمة والناتجة في الجرس اليدوي. خلوني دلوقتي أكتبها وبعدين نتناقش في الإجابة. المرة اللي فاتت we said that the function is to make sound and alert us. And the energy used is mechanical energy. عايزاكم تركزوا أوي في الكلمة الجديدة دي. Mechanical energy or kinetic energy. نقدر نبدل ما بينهم. Mechanical energy or kinetic energy. While the produced energy is sound and heat energy or thermal energy. يبقى احنا كده أخدنا كلمات شبه بعض شوية. Mechanical معناها kinetic. Heat معناها thermal. Let's think how we got to this answer. First, we identified the device. عرفنا هو مين. And it was the bell. And then we thought about its function. Let me show you the device. أول حاجة عملناها لما بصينا على الديفايس فكرنا هو مين؟ هو البell. طيب what is the function؟ لما أنا بعمل كده استفدت إيه؟ The function is alarming or alerting us by making sound. So we wrote in the column related to its function that it makes sound or it alert us. طبعا نقدر نكتبها بطرق مختلفة. After that we thought how does it work؟ ازاي انا شغلته؟ We need to move the bell to hear a sound. طول ما انا ما حركتوش طول ما هو مش هيعمل صوت. So we must provide it with mechanical or kinetic energy. Okay? That is the energy input. هي دي الطاقة اللي دخلت وحركته. Right. That's the energy input. بعد ما فكرنا وعرفنا إن الجرس وظيفته إنه ينبهنا ويطلع صوت، فكرنا إزاي بيشتغل، فلقينا إنه بيحتاج طاقة حركة عشان يطلع الصوت. Let's move to the second question that says, how did you determine the forms of energy that came out of each device as it was used? Here, we will also use the same way, but this time our answer will be about the type of energy produced or the type of energy that come out of the device. If we thought about the function of the bell, we would think about how it alerts us. This means sound must come out of it. So we can say that the bell has used mechanical energy and converted into sound energy. This is the produced energy. تاني لما فكرنا في استخدام الجرس قدرنا نحدد ان هو بينبهنا عن طريق الصوت. يبقى ال produced energy is the sound energy. The third question says, does all the energy that goes into each device come out as part of its function or some of the energy is wasted? Support your answer with examples. هنا السؤال يا ترى كل الطاقة اللي هتخرج ولا في جزء منها ممكن يبقى مهدر؟ So does the device convert all the energy that it takes into only one type of energy or the energy can be converted into more than one form? لو ركزتوا في الجدول هتلاقوني ان انا كتبت نوعين من الطاقة وعشان كده لازم افسر لكم ايه اللي انا كتبته. تفتكروا ايه اللي حصل؟ كل الطاقة الناتجة هتبقى مفيدة وهنستخدمها؟ Think of the information you know about energy, or we can go back to the text of energy chains. هفكركم بجزء من النص. Let me remind you of that part. But it may be wasted sometimes when it forms change because of friction or resistance. الطاقة ممكن جزء منها يهدر لما تعمل friction احتكاك. طب مين احتك بمين في الجرس؟ تعالوا كده نشوف. لو ركزنا في الجرس من جوه هنلاقي ان في part جزء هنا، الجزء ده لما بيخبط يمين وشمال بيعمل صوت. اوكي؟ لما الاجزاء دي بتلمس بعض بيحصل احتكاك friction and for sure friction produces heat energy. ده نقدر نحسه بعد ما نستخدم الجرس شويه نحط ايدينا عليه هنلاقي ان الجرس ابتدى يسخن. اوكي؟ Do you remember this sentence? Friction between parts of the device generate energy which is not the main energy that comes out of it. Also, there is a very important sentence we studied in the text of the energy chains. Not all the energy that enter an energy chain reaches the device and gets used as we intend at each link in the chain. Some energy escapes as other forms. يعني في جزء من الطاقة هيتسرب أو مش هيبقى مفيد بالنسبة لنا. This is also what we observed when we were doing our research on different devices. When we moved the bell more than once strongly, what happened? The part of the bell keep banging into each other strongly, meaning that there was friction احتكاك and we felt thermal energy طاقة حرارية because of the heated parts of the bell due to the friction that happened. احتكاك أجزاء الجرس مع بعضها هينتج عنه طاقة حرارية، يعني هلاقي الأجزاء سخنت. So our answer is, it's possible to waste some of the energy used in other forms. This means that part of the energy converts into another type, and we do not need it while the device is working, like the bell. We do not need the thermal energy to alert us. We only need the sound coming out of it. يبقى في الجرس input energy is kinetic energy and the output energy is sound and heat. بس بما اننا مش محتاجين الحرارة اللي الجرس هيطلعها يبقى هنقول ان الهيت energy is waste أو lost energy. We can also observe this easily around us, like when you sharpen the pencil. تعالوا اوريكم ايه اللي بيحصل. أنا هنا معايا sharpener ومعايا pencil. اوكي؟ بيحصل ايه لما بنجرب نبري القلم؟ While I roll the pencil inside، ايه اللي هيحصل؟ عندي two parts are moving، يبقى هيحصل friction. After time, if I try to touch the metal part، هلاقي ايه اللي هيحصل؟ I will feel that they are hot. I will feel the heat. So some of the kinetic or mechanical energy used is converted into heat energy. Now, we have answered the three questions that we have in the book and analyzed and concluded from the research we did the forms of energy entering and produced in the different devices that we use. بعد ما تعرفنا على صور الطاقة الداخلة أو الناتجة في الأجهزة المختلفة، تعالوا نتعلم أكتر عن الطاقة. Let's learn more about energy in activity 7. Observe like a scientist. This activity is entitled The Conservation of Energy. Conservation of energy. But let me ask you first, do you think energy can disappear? يا ترى الطاقة ممكن تختفي خالص؟ We will know the answer to this question as we read and observe the information in the text on page 16 and 17. But while reading, record the energy transformations that happened in different processes. In other words, how energy changes from one form to another. Also, focus on the examples. أهم حاجة وانتوا بتقروا ما تنسوش تركزوا في الأمثلة على تحولات الطاقة، زي ما اتكلمنا المرة اللي فاتت على تحولات الطاقة في أجهزة كتير، انتوا كمان ركزوا وانتوا بتقروا عليها. I'm sure that you have observed many examples of energy transformations in the text. just like my students. I'll share with you their answers, but I will say the transformations that happen, and you think of the process where this happened. Are you ready? Converting chemical energy in the body into mechanical energy in the bicycle pedal. When does that transformation happen? Exactly, while riding a bike. تعالوا بقى نركز هنا. أنا دلوقتي وأنا راكب العجلة، إيه اللي بيحصل؟ I'm pedaling. This is a kind of mechanical or kinetic energy. طيب، أنا جبت منين الانرجي اللي بتخليني أصلاً أعمل pedaling؟ I got this energy from the chemical energy inside the food. أنا كنت آكل أصلاً في الأول والأكل ده جواه chemical energy and this chemical energy changed into mechanical or kinetic energy. طب when does this mechanical energy turns into heat energy؟ إمتى الكايناتيك energy دي تتحول لثيرمال energy؟ واخدين بالكم من mechanical معناها kinetic thermal معناها heat؟ امتى ده بيحصل؟ ويا ترى ده بيحصل في انهي جزء في البايسكل اصلا؟ This happens during friction of the bike tires with the road. وانا سايق العجله، التايرز اللي هو العجل بتاع العجل او الاطارات بتاعه العجله بتعمل احتكاك مع الارض. الفريكشن او الاحتكاك ده هو ده اللي هيخلي kinetic energy تتحول لهيت energy. This happens also when we need to stop the bike, so we press the brakes. وكمان لما هنيجي نوقف وندوس البريكس هنزود الفريكشن فورس. The speed of the bike begins to decrease and the tire rubs against the ground. At this time, if you try to touch the tire, you will feel that it's really hot. And we will feel heat because of what? Because of the friction. يبقى واحنا راكبين العجله الطاقه الكيميائيه اللي في جسمنا اللي اخدناها من الاكل هتتحول لطاقه حركه، وما تنسوش ان الاطارات هتحتك مع الارض وتولد طاقه حراريه. Well, what about converting electrical energy into light and thermal energy? Exactly. This is what happens in the electric lamp. In addition to the light that we see, we also feel heat if we bring our hands close to it. زي ما جربنا المرة اللي فاتت في التيبل لامب وفي الفلاش لايت. هنتكلم مينلي عن التيبل لامب أو الإلكتريك لامب اللي موجودة عندنا في البيت. بيستخدموا electrical energy to work، وأول ما بينوروا بيطلعوا كمان طاقة حرارية heat energy. لو حطيت إيدي هلاقي اللامب بتطلع heat. All the energy transformations we see together confirm a very important principle that we said before. يا ترى إيه القانون اللي بنتكلم عنه ده؟ Energy is neither created nor destroyed, but it can change from one form to another form. الطاقة لا تفنى، لا تفنى يعني ما بتخلصش، ولا تستحدث من عدم. لا تستحدث يعني ما اقدرش اجيبها from nowhere كده، ولكن يمكن تحويلها من صورة لأخرى. نقدر نحول ما بين أنواع الطاقة. I can tell you that I had chemical energy in my body and it disappeared. It can turn into other form, but it cannot disappear. أنا جوه جسمي chemical energy، ما ينفعش أنام وأصحى ألاقيها اختفت، بس أقدر استخدمها في حاجة تانية أو أقدر أحولها لنوع تاني من أنواع الطاقة. Also, it didn't come out of nowhere. There must be a source of energy. وإحنا اتكلمنا عن sources of energy قبل كده، مصادر الطاقة. For example, the light that comes from the bulb cannot come out of nowhere. It came from another source, which is electrical energy. And if we track the electrical energy, we will find another source and so on. الطاقة ممكن تتحول لصور تانية، لكن ما ينفعش تختفي. اوعوا تنسوا ده. This is called the law of the conservation of energy. قانون حفظ الطاقة. And to know more about it, we will go to our science textbook and watch a video about the conservation of energy. While watching, record your observations about two things. The first thing is the energy transformations, And the second thing, you will listen carefully what the term conservation of energy means. This time, we will apply a strategy called pause and play. يا ترى يعني إيه pause and play? I will play the video to a certain part and then stop. When I stop, you will write down quickly your observations and then I'll play it again and stop it in a certain part for you to write down again your notes. بس ما تنسوش كل مرة هوقف عايزاكم تكتبوا ملاحظتكم عن حاجتين: تحولات الطاقة وفهمتوا إيه عن بقاء الطاقة. Let's start. We will play the first part now. Focus to record your observations about the different energy transformations. Let's do it.
We've already learned that there are 5 main forms of energy. But did you know that these forms of energy are interchangeable? Energy is able to be converted into many different forms. When you rub your hands together, mechanical energy is converted into heat energy. And when you light a match, an energy conversion occurs. When the match head is rubbed against the box, mechanical energy changes to heat energy. The heat energy causes the chemicals in the match head to ignite. Chemical energy is then converted to heat energy that we can feel and light energy that we can see. Energy can also be converted from potential energy to kinetic energy and vice versa.
Now, we will play the second part of the video and I want you to record your observations about the definition of the conservation of energy.
Almost everything in this world can be created or destroyed. Can you think of one thing that cannot? Energy. The law of conservation of energy states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only changed in form. Take a light bulb, for example. Have you ever noticed that a light bulb gets very hot when you turn it on? This heat energy is formed from excess electromagnetic energy, which was not converted into light energy. No energy was lost, it simply changed form.
After all the observations we collected from the text and the video, of course you are now ready to answer the questions in our book, page 17. Let's discuss the questions together. Our first question is, what is the definition of the phrase conservation of energy? I recorded that the energy is neither created nor destroyed, but it can change forms. The next question, what are the different forms of energy involved when a light bulb is turned on? What transformations happen to the light bulb? The observation that we recorded on the board, the electrical energy is changed to light and heat energy. احنا كتبنا ده على البورد ان electrical energy هتتحول ل light and thermal energy or light and heat energy. This is the end of today's lesson. تعالوا نراجع مع بعض قلنا ايه. To review together what we have learned, عايزاكم تبقوا مركزين جدا. Today we have searched for the energy transformations in the devices that we use in our daily lives and analyzed and concluded that all devices are used for a certain purpose or function and that they need energy that enter and always has produced energy. أي جهاز لازم يبقى ليه function فايدة أو استخدام ولازم يبقى فيه input energy و output energy which may have forms of energy other than the basic function of the device. ال output energy ممكن تبقى فيها أنواع أو صور إحنا مش محتاجينها. It will be considered as lost energy. ما تنسوش إننا برضو اتعلمنا إن ممكن جزء من الطاقة الناتجة اللي هي ال output energy يكون مش مفيد وبنعتبره طاقة مفقودة. And we observed the forms of energy transformations in different processes. And we knew the term the conservation of energy. قانون بقاء الطاقة. While energy is neither created nor destroyed, but it can change forms. الطاقة لا تفنى ولا تستحدث من عدم، ولكن يمكن تحويلها. Now, it's your turn to get ready for our next lesson. I want you to think and research how we can design and make a model that shows the transformations of energy in one of the devices around you. You will apply everything you learned about energy transformations and the conservation of energy. عقبال ما نتقابل المرة الجاية عاوزاكم تدوروا وتفكروا ازاي نعمل نموذج يبين ويوضح انتقال الطاقة وكمان يبقى واضح فيه قوي قانون بقاء الطاقة. Thank you all the scientists who joined us today. Goodbye and see you next time.